Sword of the gods. Sheba, destruction and chaos. Alright, hello everybody. Welcome back to me channel. As promised, I have came back. Yeah. Today I'm going to be drawing Twilight Sparkle and talking about My Little Pony fandom. I'm not sure if this is going to be my final My Little Pony video, but I know that eventually soon in the future I will try to draw the other members of the main six during some of my speed paints. So don't worry, I'm not abandoning My Little Pony. I'm just, exploring all the awesome things for this channel. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so My Little Pony Friendship is Magic started in the 2010s, and 13, 12-year-old me decided that I really liked the show. So I was one of the original fans back in the early 2010s, but I didn't honestly really know that I was a brony, mainly because I didn't get in on all the forums that had the bronies on it. So for a whole year and a half of being a brony, I didn't even know I was a brony. Much to my parents' dismay, they just thought I didn't they thought I was just into a little kids TV show that was too old for me. And yeah, I never left my unicorn, sunshine, and rainbows phase. Little did I know though, it was just me being a brony. I guess the ponies that kind of caught my attention originally when I first got into My Little Pony was mainly Luna and Derpy, mainly because they're basically the best. Luna will always be the best princess. Celestia lovers fight me. And Derpy because, well, Derpy is the best pony ever and she deserves more love. And yeah, that is a fact, not an opinion. So, kind of to start off with, MLP was kind of how I got into, not into drawing, because I was already drawing as a kid, but I kind of got into, comic making, in the first place, and then, basically just started making the fan art, which kind of led into, during middle school, making my own original stuff, that wasn't really based on My Little Pony, but had some elements left in it. I wish I had some of my old comics to put on the screen, but unfortunately those are currently in storage, so I don't have them at the moment. But my goodness, when I get a hold of those comics, it's gonna be a cringe fest video for you guys. So after that, FNAF happened. So yeah, So what it was like in the My Little Pony fandom, back in the day up until now, it was a mixed box. It was a mixed box of candy that you get at Halloween. It was the good, the bad, and the very, very, very ugly. My Little Pony could be a really awesome fandom, but on the other side, there was there was that nuclear portion of the fandom that you just did not touch. It was this wonderful amalgamation of people from all different parts of the world and just many other different backgrounds. It was a roller coaster of art, music, conventions and fan fictions. You had people making this awesome stuff Destabilized and the big Past Sins project that was being written back then. I don't know if any of you guys remember Past Sins, but it is my favorite fan fiction from the entire series. And if you're actually old like me, you'll even remember the countless Gary's Mod animations that happened back then. Yes, Gary's Mod is used for more than Skibbity Toilet. Something to mention, though, is that I actually never got to go to any of the conventions, mainly because of money. And my parents weren't really too thrilled about me watching My Little Pony and drawing it, so I didn't really get to go to any of them. But I do remember vaguely, we went on vacation one time, and there was this convention happening at the hotel next to us, and I think it was in Tampa. Much to the dismay of my parents and their shock and disappointment, I believe, there was a bunch of cosplayers there, and they were all cosplaying different characters from the show. And I started naming them off. Like, my parents were not happy because their 13-year-old daughter that should have been out of her My Little Pony phase was literally pointing out, like, Fluttershy and then Big Mac. The guy who was cosplaying him, let me say, he had the best voice, and I still remember with like the same emotions I had that day as I said, "Oh, you're Big Mac," and the dude went, "Hey, yup." It was the best day of my life at that point. I think also, like, some of the best parts that, to me, of the My Little Pony fandom was things like Doctor Who's and what's it called? There was Doctor Who's, and I think they also had something else. I'll say it when I remember it, but I think that was also like the absolute best freaking part because it got me into Doctor Who. So, you know, those were the great parts of the fandom. Now, we can't go on about my good experiences without without the bad experiences that not only I had, but, like, everybody had. Oh, man. Everybody can remember Cupcakes and Smile HD. Yeah, that, you shouldn't see that stuff as a kid. But, you know, it's the internet, so I was like, oh, well, that's dark. That in of itself was kind of tame, though, compared to the older demographic of the fandom. The fandom was great about pulling people together. It's just, maybe it wasn't the best when it came down to some of the fans that should not have been in the fandom. And yeah, we'll just brush on that, because that's not fun. So, it wouldn't be a Twilight Sparkle Speedpaint without actually talking about Twilight. So let's talk about Twilight, as I literally draw this wonderful princess in the background. I always liked her as a character. She's smart and she has a good personality, even though she can absolutely go off of her rockers every once in a while in the show. And scare the crap out of people. But I've always liked her. But she was never my favorite. Sorry, Twilight fans. But her story was awesome. She went from, like, this shut-in person who didn't want any friends at all and just want to sit inside and read books, and then grew into a good person and got literally humbled. Just humbled. And became a pretty good princess at the end. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the big discussion in the room, as in Twilight becoming an alicorn. I was never necessarily against Twilight ever becoming an alicorn, but I feel like it happened a little bit too fast in the series for me. I know that the network was having issues at the time, or they were transitioning or something, but, like, there was only 13 episodes for season 3, and Twilight became a alicorn literally in the span of two episodes. So I feel like it was pretty rushed, but I can understand why. I personally love her journey as a princess. It's wholesome. And, the big fight scene with Tirek, amazing. Personally, I would watch it again and again and again. I think that's a good point to also bring up, is that, like, in the later seasons, this show got away with so much. Not only with just like the fight scenes, but like we tackled literal communism in this show. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty freaking awesome, you know? But yeah, no. As for Twilight and of herself, I mean, like, I love her design. Um, I think that's always kind of been like a draw that I've had for her, is just like I'm a little bit of a character design nut when it comes down to things, but it's just Twilight has always also been like very pleasing, in character design. But I do want to like clear the elephant in the room. The final episode. Oh my. I know that some fans are totally okay with like her final design. I'm not. Now, please don't come after me. But Twilight's like final princess design is just, you know, oh boy. It was pretty underwhelming. And so was most of the main six's designs too. But to be honest, the show went on for like 9 seasons, and as most of the writing staff and actors and, you know, everybody that worked on the show basically said, you know, it's basically had its run, and you could tell that some of the magic, you know, pun intended, was actually starting to kind of go, from the show, so they made the good decision to kind of just halt, production. I know that the production team, and everybody who worked on the show, basically said that, you know, the show was basically having its run. It was basically coming to an end. They had already done most of everything that they wanted to do with it. So they made the decision, to just basically end the show, while it was still kind of okay. And I think that was basically the most responsible thing to do, really, with the show. Although, you know, that was all good and dandy. The only big problem I do have, and the only letdown I really do actually feel from My Little Pony, is that, you know, Twilight, you know, they said she wasn't supposed to be in Gen 5, and yet she's in Gen 5. It kind of feels like when, Security Breach was being made, and they just changed the story right in the middle of production, because whatever. But, you know, yeah, I think we can all agree that it's pretty bad. If you like Gen 5, that's totally okay. Gen 5 in of itself is a great standalone thing. It would probably be a decent kid show, but for like a continuation of Generation 4, and by extension Twilight's story, it's a major letdown, don't get me wrong. Gen 5 has a wonderful concept, but it's just not being executed right, and it's just sad, because honestly, I kind of loved the movie. Yeah. And, Opaline, yeah, that's a badly designed character. Anyways, I will catch you humans next time. I almost forgot before I go. I want to give out a shout out to the Red Pony, a very awesome person who gave me a shout out on their channel, basically to come and bombard me with support. I want to go ahead and give you a public thank you real quick, because that is literally the kindest thing I have had in like years. And thank you so much. I honestly started crying when I saw that. Thank you so much, and I won't forget it. Thank you.